having organized with us this, I hope, very fruitful roundtable. Gabriele Carrera is going to be the moderator, but I think that I can anticipate the rules of the table. There will be few interventions that have been already announced and already programmed, and then it's open to the floor. Everybody may intervene, and I hope that will be much more dynamic and also more interesting than just a panel and a seminar. So thank you very much, and have a nice day of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Giorgio. You've done a great job, so I have no words to add on your presentation. Also, thank you for this presentation of the ground rules. We will discuss artificial intelligence and fintech's growing influence. We have a half an hour, 90 minutes conversation, a few presentation, and then the Q&A. You can join the table. Just raise your hand, please, and say your name, surname, and your affiliation. We are joined by a few students in global governance, correct? Thank you. And so ground rules is okay. And yeah, the presentation of this event is about the intersection of AI and fintech. We always listen, discussion, and debate on AI, in particular after just a few months ago when ChatGPT was launched by OpenAI. We all know what is AI, generative AI, and how can help us in on a daily basis. So I think it's very interesting to focus on this specific sector, and I would like to give Michele Lanotte the floor. Michele is is director in the Retail Instruments and Service Directorate of Bank of Italy. Michele, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this morning to share with you some thoughts about the role of artificial intelligence in the financial sector. The idea is to give you the perspective from a central banks, obviously. Having said that, before starting, I needed just to share with you that obviously all the remarks and opinions that I will share with you normally cannot reflect or does not reflect obviously the position of the Bank of Italy. So from this point of view, I am responsible for what I am just saying. Having said that, if you can share the slide. In the meantime, in my presentation, okay, thank you. What I would like to do is just to give you, let's say, some inputs in order to spur the conversation and discussion among us, just to give you a couple of figures, okay? I think that this slide is extremely simple to understand. It's very explained. So the global AI market in 2022, the overall amount of investment was $142 billion, okay, and it is estimated that it will be derived by 2030 well above 1,000 billion, okay, just to give you the picture. Having in mind this, in this slide, I try to show you the amount of investment from a venture capital perspective. Okay, as you can see, we achieved a peak of investment more or less during the pandemic, during the COVID period. Okay, then there is a reduction, as you can see on the right side of the slide, in 22. In 2023, it is mainly due to the risk war, and on top of this, impact of inflation, and consequently the impact of increase of interest. However, what we have seen in the first part of 2024 this year, we will see about the AI, the amount of investment in this infrastructure is really increasing significantly. So there is a lot of genuine interest from many point of view to work on this specific. The race. So not surprisingly, in these slides, you see that there are three main, let's say, jurisdictions that are working a lot on AI, and are all at the same time investing. Obviously, the first place in this race is occupied by the US, followed by China, and then EU. I put also in this case the UK with EU, generally speaking, but obviously China and the US are let's say the really masters in this field. They follow, but not so close by the European Union. As the Stanford Center for Artificial Intelligence observed in last year, 61 AI models were originating from US-based institution, just to give you a little bit the flavor of how important is in this jurisdiction the development of AI solution. Having in mind this, in Europe, okay, where I use the blue color Italy. So as you can see, the left side you have the Nordic countries, where the private sector, yeah, and if you like the idea of the different Italy, that is in China and US. Second aspect, when we talk about AI, there are different ways in order to regulate, to develop rules about. Here, I just try to compare three different approaches that we have. The European approach, the artificial intelligence part, here is a typical European approach in the regulation. Exactly. What are the different indications? What are the different market? I think several different pieces of information. 2017, 2020, and the different kinds of regulation. We are just counted the most important. The other end is in Europe. How different could be the way that you can deal with the AI solution. And just to give you, let's say, the latest data that are, as I said, that we can use. From technical point of view, generative AI the idea behind AI today. Behind this is the most important point, due to the fact that today we talk about Kratos and the power, is that behind the bulk of generative AI solutions, there are the big tech. With big tech, I mean, I would say the American big tech, so Apple, Meta, Google, Amazon, and so on, but also maybe in Europe, sometimes we forget completely, there are several Chinese big player, Baidu, okay, for instance, that are extremely active in developing generative AI solution. What is important here is just to give you an idea the amount of investment and in terms of billions that we are dealing with, okay? So, and just to give you an idea, AI and big what I have to try to do is to put looking to the main of the very famous The total in order to work with AI, in particular with generative AI, you need a lot of money. The people around the globe that are able to have skills, human skills, okay, talent, in other words, and economic money are probably less than 10 companies at worldwide level. Okay, so for these reasons, the role of the big tech is crucial in this particular fields. Having in mind this as a picture, okay. So, moving on to the end of my presentation, when I talk about AI as a policy maker, the main question how AI is related to the regulation so there is a clear trade-off with regulation and privacy. Okay, and so it's not simple to find exactly what is the correct approach. Conclusion, last slide. From our perspective, artificial intelligence also for both solution. Last but not least, it's quite important international cooperation, because when we talk about AI, it doesn't make any sense to think at domestic level or to European level. This is a game that we need to play at worldwide level. So to conclude, big problem, okay, small solution, because at this stage I haven't seen a very solution. And I think
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lanotte. You mentioned international cooperation. We all know that AI was on the top of the agenda, is still on the top of the agenda of the Italian presidency of the G7. And we have the pleasure and honor to have with us Massimo Carnelos, the head of Innovation Unit at the Ministry of Foreign, Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So, Mr. Carnelos, over to you.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Michele, for overarching overview of everything that is to know probably on the relation between AI and financial services. I will be very brief. I will just put in some notes here. AI always been a part of the financial services, at least for the last 20 years. We have seen models like linear regression that was used by a financial market participant, the financial operators. If we think about the risk management or the fraud detections or even anti-money laundering. What is probably interesting in the latest development, let's say the past couple of years, with the introductions of new foundational models and large language models, is the capability of searching for patterns in unstructured data. And this can open new avenues, new areas of, to explore and to adopt into financial services. I'm thinking of, how to better compliance with financial regulations or a better robo-advising for clients, or simply, the asset management. Probably one of the most important is the market surveillance. Like, searching in the unstructured data of society, of politics, of economics, patterns that can be useful for, economic planning or to correct the mistakes predictive models do in econometric management. Even monetary policy can use these new solutions in AI. But be careful that, large language models contains a lot of mistakes. So they are called hallucinations. And so there will always be a human being there behind checking that everything is going according to what are the objectives and the expected outcomes. And this form of AI requires a lot of data. And to mine this data, you need a lot of energy. So this is not an easy problem. Unless we look at a new frontiers of the AI, which is called symbolic or sub-symbolic, but that is really a minority because 90% of companies doing a foundational model with AI, they use statistical AI. So it's used massive amount of data. The sub-symbolic is something which probably works very much closer to the human brain, but there's only a minority of researchers that are doing that. Just to conclude, another aspect that is related to AI, partly related to AI, is the problem of quantum. And because that is probably one of the highest priority for financial services in particular. I want to praise the Bank of Italy organizing a couple of weeks ago an important conference on AI and financial services. This is probably something that all financial services need to take with urge and determinations, because to have a cyber-safe, quantum cyber-safe security in the way we manage financial services is absolutely necessary, because quantum is a matter of how and when, not a matter of if it will come, because it will be part of our internet and digital infrastructures. So that's probably something we should look at with a lot of attentions, and AI can of course help in developing financial safe infrastructures that is safe for the quantum revolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Massimo. So next to me is William Marizelli from Google Cloud. I would like to hear from you about this transformation of AI during recent years, in particular the generative AI. So it's over to you, and please.
Thank you. Okay, just to get some notes, especially from your interesting presentation. Obviously, we are here because it is now, really well known that the interest in artificial intelligence has grown a lot since 2022. And obviously, from our observatory, we see that the search for, AI in fintech or AI in financial services and every related, search has grown for more than 80% in the last year. And probably the interest factor that has reached the highest peak 1 month ago. So meaning that the interest is, especially for the financial service sector, is growing, especially in the last months. Also looking at the consumption related to the AI, we see on our infrastructure related to direct model integration or related to infrastructure that supports the artificial intelligence model execution or training. We've seen that this consumption is constantly growing and show no stop of slowing down. Looking also at Italy, just to try to connect with your number, we see that in average, the consumption coming from financial sector, from Italian financial sector, is 12 to 15% lower than the EU average, means that we are probably in Italy a little behind in terms of adoption. Say that obviously artificial intelligence is not a new topic for financial services. I looking after financial services from some years now, and obviously the use of machine learning in areas like fraud detection or risk is taken for granted. So what is changed is the approach. So obviously marketing helps a lot, especially in discussion, but what is changed is the approach that this new model is bringing and the culture behind. Before in order to have the proof of value that a model was able to address a specific topics, we have to start the projects, then spend and invest a lot of money, time, and resources before having the proof that the model was able to address, for example, fraud detection problems. What is changed now with these new models, the time needed to prove that we are able to assess specific business problem has been dramatically reduced. This means that companies can more focus on how then to use this new capability. And this also is accelerating and is shifting the approach from having a tool that can solve heavy, complex mathematical problems to a tool that can solve business-related problems. So we are switching from a use case approach. This is why I also liked the slide, because it was highlighting the fact that we are switching to this approach. And this obviously can help a lot, a discussion and adoption in a company like, for example, a bank. The other point that probably we can highlight that this approach is at the same time, obviously big advantage, but also could be obviously at the same time a risk for missed opportunity. This is because usually what we are seeing is that financial sector, especially the big financial institutions, are focusing a lot on activities like process optimization, in order to reduce the operation cost, and are also focusing a lot on the use, because ChatGPT is driven, something consumer driven. So companies are also focusing a lot also on enhancement of digital channels. So the missing opportunity is to look at this technology as a way also to enhance some core processes. Now something is changing. What we are seeing, especially from European market and for clients I work with, is now companies are starting a lot to use this technology to rewrite, if not to re-platform completely, projects like the anti-money laundering projects. We are seeing a lot of anti-money laundering rebuilding projects going on in the last year, and we have pipe for more for the next year, where the objective is not just, I can say, enhance the ability to identify suspicious transaction or typical activity you can do, but also to reduce the cost of maintaining this kind of processes. So reducing amount, volume of alerts, reduce the time needed to analyze and work a specific alert. This is really important because is where we believe, obviously, the value can be really extracted. Moving to the dark side, and just also trying to connect to your presentation. Where are the problems we can see? Obviously, there is cyber risk problem, and obviously, if not for all, just for reputation, obviously, companies like Google are working a lot to reduce to minimize this type of risk. I don't want to say to eliminate totally, because I don't want to lie to you, because every technology has its, as much as we can reduce as more percentage of risk. And the other point is at the moment, what is really we are working a lot with is also to regulation, because we are in a moment when new regulation are coming out. We have to adapt, but the general perception from the market is that probably something new will come. So this creates some level of uncertainty that sometimes make it not easy for some companies to to take a decision for really big investment. Obviously, it's much easier if the investment is lower. And obviously, the other point is the one related to the errors, hallucination, we can call it in different ways, because also for this, especially for these industries, are related to reputation. Okay. In this case, obviously, company like us, like OpenAI, are working to reduce this type of risk. But a lot of this, probably there are type of risk that we cannot really address. So for example, risk that are related to bias coming from data that are related to data you are using with the models we are providing. If your data has bias, the model, because it's the way it works, can just eradicate, or let's say in the worst case, amplify this bias. This is why one of the areas, especially in financial sector, where we are working a lot, for example, is the explainability. Because we cannot have, for example, we cannot provide financial institutional model not able to explain why, for example, someone has been granted a loan and someone else no. So we have to explain why and which parameter has been used to take this decision. This is probably one of the big challenges we have in front in the next year. Say that the other big important point, because we can solve part of the problem, but not all the problems. The best way we see to really trying to extract the value from this technology is trying to collaborate. We are starting with collaboration for the moment with European Union in order to have a collaboration with regulation, at least in order to be ready in time for what is coming. But also the collaboration between us and our customer and regulators, because sometimes at the end we are just providing a tool, but that you obviously have to define how to use is probably what we need. It is probably what at the moment we need and we miss in order to really achieve, a full potential of the adoption of this technology.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, William. Now I would like to ask you, ask the perspective from a foundation, a Polish foundation. So, Miss Susanna Krauzuis, is correct? Fantastic. She's a senior lawyer at the Fintech Poland Foundation, and the floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to speak to you today at this event in the beautiful city of Rome. It's an honor to be part of this important discussion on artificial intelligence and its impact on fintech. These are areas that holds enormous potential for change, not only in the way we do finance, but ultimately in shaping the future of the global economy. Of course, so I'm Susanna Krauzuis, I'm a senior lawyer, and I would like to say something more about our foundation. So Fintech Poland Foundation has gathered 150 entities from financial sector, and we help them in many ways. For example, we support them with networking, with business, international presence, and regulatory issues. And today, I would like to focus on Poland's growing role as a player in the fintech ecosystem, the impact of AI on the fintech sector, and the huge opportunities for cooperation between Poland and Italy in driving financial innovation, especially in regulatory area. So, Poland is rapidly becoming a player in fintech innovation in Europe. In recent years, we have seen a significant growth in this sector, driven by an enterprising spirit, strong technical expertise, collaboration between academia, business, and decision makers, and most importantly, a government commitment to digital transformation. So in the Polish financial sector, AI-driven solutions are really prevalent in various areas: fraud detection and cybersecurity. Of course, they are key examples where AI is used to analyze patterns and detect suspicious activity in real time, protecting consumers and institutions. Customer service has also been transformed by AI-powered virtual assistants and chatbots, which provide personalized support, answer questions, and resolve issues more efficiently. In credit scoring and risk assessment, AI algorithms analyze vast amounts of data. This is to provide more accurate assessment of creditworthiness, individual creditworthiness. It helps banks and lenders make more informed decisions. Finally, AI is improving transaction monitoring and payment processing, increasing speed and accuracy while reducing errors. In all these areas, AI is helping Polish financial institutions increase efficiency, security, and customer satisfaction. So our financial sector consists of traditional financial companies such as banks and insurance companies, but one of the most important players are fintechs. We understand fintech as a company which provides financial services and also as a provider of services to financial institutions. And the AI revolution is about these two types. In Poland, fintech companies have a significant advantage over traditional financial institutions when it comes to driving digital transformation and implementing innovation. Thanks to their agility, lean structures, and focus on cutting-edge technologies, fintechs can quickly adapt to market needs and introduce new solutions. For banks, working with fintechs is often more efficient than pursuing innovation on their own. By partnering with these dynamic companies, banks can integrate innovative technologies such as AI without the burden of large legacy system overhauls. We can see a huge development in the field of AI, but we are aware that behind these developments, our fintechs and our traditional financial institutions have faced a lot of challenges, made many mistakes, and cast several doubts. This is where the regulatory dialogue for financial competitiveness initiative comes in. A few months ago, we established a special council whose main goal is to support the development of the Polish financial sector. We are doing it by influencing the regulatory environment and developing the regulatory framework. We are building a knowledge base of global best market practices through regulatory benchmarking. We work with financial market participants, regulators, supervisors, and to identify and address regulatory barriers, providing legal analysis and international benchmarking to support regulatory dialogue. As you can see, Poland is actively engaged in creating a balanced regulatory environment. That approach allows new technologies such as AI to develop. In this context, cooperation with Italian legal experts who bring in-depth knowledge of EU regulatory standards and financial law would be invaluable. Together, we can engage in a meaningful dialogue to harmonize regulation, facilitate cross-border fintech operations, and ensure that both Polish and Italian companies can innovate within a clear and consistent legal framework. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to these exciting opportunities that lie ahead as we continue our discussion. Grazie mille.
Thank you so much. I think your intervention is a fantastic access to Michelangelo Bottesini. He is president of Italia Fintech. Let's talk about startups and companies in this sector.
Hello. Thank you for your intervention, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm here with the main role of president of the Italian Fintech Association. But from the other side, I'm of course involved in the technical activities. I'm an international CFO of my company, Team System, that is a tech provider, and they have run the fintech business during the last 4 years. And so I can perceive exactly what you're talking about, because we lived the startup, we lived the startup environment, and having a regulation, having the opportunity to find an environment where the startup can create value, and in the two main drivers, create new opportunity for young people that are graduated, that would like to remain in their country, and they are specialists in technology, and they can create value for the country. And the other side is to attract investment from abroad, and to build a relation with other countries, and to create value for us, for the company, for the sector in general. I have to say that taking some hints from the previous speakers, I'd like to just tell a couple of points. The first one, like an association, so as a president of the association, we kindly suggest to have the opportunity not only to regulate, but also to promote with the instruments that allow to create innovation, like the sandbox. The discussion about the AI sandbox, I know that is ongoing in the parliament. I know that there are a couple of proposals coming from exponents of the government, and create innovation needs to take a limited quantity of risk, but needs to take risk. Otherwise, we will not follow the Benjamin Franklin suggestion. And so what we have to experiment as Italy, it's to find the way to allow the startup and the operators to create new solution, experiment in the limited perimeter, and then if they are good, we can put it in place. And only in this way, if we don't give stricted rules, stricted perimeter, we will be able to develop a sector that now is struggling with bigger investors abroad. So in Italy, we have little size. And the other suggestion I can say, looking at our startups, is that we have to work on application. It's impossible already to reach the results that already China, United States have now on the definition of big models. But we can be more efficient and more effective in specific application in our countries on specific application. Let me say just a simple application we made with a simple AI in the payments area. There was a team system is the main player for accountants. The accountants has a lot of people making reconciliation between bank transaction and accounting transaction. This simple model of AI that we implemented in our tool allow a lot of accountants to save operation and activities that were made manually, and to invest in a more valuable work for their collaborators. And this is just a simple, basic operativity solution. Then we will see the new model, then we will work on a lot of data, and then we will implement the AI solution on MAL. That is really, really important. And I want to close with, especially if we think to the anti-money laundering and the fraud, because I had the experience as I'm responsible for the fraud prevention in our payment institution. So I'm very worried about what can happen in the future. I want to share with you a memory I have from a previous meeting that I was present around 10 years ago. I was in a meeting with Frank Abagnale. I don't know if you have remember it. There was that film Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. That was okay. That was so Frank Abagnale, after working on the dark side, he moved to the white side, trying to fight the criminals. And around 10 years ago, he tell us this history, and is, please be very careful with the data of your baby, because you don't know your baby that now is 3 years old. If you spread this data across the World Wide Web, someone probably can catch this data, and in the next 15 years, when this data will be correlated to an adult, can create a virtual identity and make a criminal financial activity in a state that is not your state. So when your son will go, I don't know, in Malaysia or in Australia or in wherever in the future, landing in that place, he could be arrested without having done nothing, because there was the possibility that someone else had just stolen his identity, make a local criminal activity, and no one will know. And in the future will be really difficult to do that. Now we are exactly facing these things. Every day we look at X and we find deep fake on political statements, on things. So the AI can be interesting as an opportunity. We have to fight against the criminal side of the AI, and I think we need to invest a lot on this. Thank you.
So now I want to go very vertical on a few issues, and I would like to start with the insurance sector. And we have Cinzia Mandonico. She's Innovation Manager at ANIA, and ANIA is the Association of Insurance Company here in Italy. Please.
Thank you, Gabriele. Let's switch to insurance. So AI is for sure a game changer. I mean, it's a game changer because it's evolving the traditional insurance role from a traditional, let's say, role to insurance companies are becoming key players in multi-service ecosystems. Namely healthcare, mobility, home, and so on. And AI is enabling this. AI is enabling the insurance differently through the whole value chain, the insurance value chain. Probably the first most impacted sector is claim management. Claim management, not only for optimizing the back-end work, but also in interfacing with customers. Computer vision, which is a very important application, is very useful for damage assessment, car, buildings, whatever. AI in claim management, I can say it's a big issue, and it's the first and the most developed area. Apart from that, AI is also personalization of offerings. We get to know the customers much better. We get to know their lifestyles, their needs, their way to behave with risk, their attitude to risk, and this allows a very deeper and more granular offering. So the offering is changing because of AI, because machine learning and predictive modeling are the learning functions, are the building blocks of AI, and they are impacting a lot in this sense in the insurance industry. Another area which is really impacting the industry is a better risk mitigation, because alerting customers of imminent risk can help customers to avoid damage. If we avoid the damage, we avoid losses, and the pricing for customers improve. And I can say that also the protection gap also improves in this way, because pricing becomes lower, and mutuality in the insurance sector can help in this. Fraud detection, all of you mentioned fraud detection. Fraud detection has always been one of the main issue items for the insurance industry. It's very much important because of mutuality that honest customers have not to bear the costs associated with fraudulent activities. So in this area is very much impacted as well. Of course, with the climate change, there's urgent changes that we know, but even in this area, the collection of big data coming from industrial sites, agricultural sites, together with the weather data, satellite data, and of course, the algorithms can really help in preventing, can really help in risk assessment and damage assessment. So this is another big area that has been addressed by AI. And another, all of you mentioned generative AI. Generative AI, I have to say, it's at the beginning. Insurance companies are experimenting a lot, even though in the marketing and distribution sales, it's being used for improving chatbot and virtual assistants. So in this area, it's being used. For other areas, there's a kind of follow the trend, not to avoid the falling behind. That's what they are doing. A company are doing. So in the other areas, there's some experimentation, but not really in a good. I don't know if you mentioned. Some of you mentioned the job displacement. This is another hot topic associated with AI. For the insurance industry, sometimes it's considered with apprehension. especially with regards to the insurance distribution network. What's happening, it's not that. There's not a risk for the distribution channel to lose their jobs because AI is supporting agents and brokers. They are supporting their job in their daily activity, as you were saying, supporting the routine tasks. So to be more concentrated on consultancy, which is very important because the insurance items are really complex to understand. And so to build a trustful relationship with the customer, the distribution human side is very important. Also embedded, just to mention a new trend in insurtech, because we talked about fintech in general, but insurtech, what's happening is that since 2022, 60% of the investment, VC, venture capital investment in insurtech were on challengers of the traditional players. Since 2023, this number dropped down to 17%, meaning that they are not a competitor anymore. They are more enabler of the traditional companies. The platform can habilitate by means of the API. We are in the APIs economy, open insurance business models. So insurtechs in this trend that I call the insurtech 2.0 are behaving differently, and also companies are behaving in a venture client with a venture client attitude. So they are really making different kind of partnership with insurtech, so to improve their services and also to get rid of the legacy systems. I mean, it's a good chance to get rid of the legacy system and to improve and to do some knowledge transfer from technical, advanced, innovative insurtechs. I don't know if I have a few minutes more. No? Okay. I just wanted to mention the AI Act that I'm following since 2021. But it's okay. We welcomed anyway, just to close, we welcome the AI Act as ANIA, even though we hope to guarantee a level playing field, first of all, and the regulation and the application of the regulation should avoid overlaps of regulatory, because the insurance sector, as banking sector, is very much regulated, and this over-regulation should not impact on innovation. This is something we hope as ANIA. That's it right now. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I would like to focus now on payments. And next to me is Mirko Calvaresi. He's Chief Information Officer at PagoPA. PagoPA is a PI. It stands for Public Administration. Over to you.
So thank you very much for having me here. And thanks for the colleagues, because I get a lot of, thank you, a lot of insight and very interesting topics about the question of generative AI. Maybe it's worth to mention a few words. What is PagoPA, what we are currently doing? PagoPA is the public-owned company that is in charge of the national payment platform system. We have also other projects, other platform, but the main platform is definitely the payment platform. And we were established in 2020, and the company grew very fast during the year, over the year. And last year we processed over 380 million payments. So it's a considerable amount of data. Apart from this platform, we also are in charge of creating the interoperability platform at national level. So connect public administration through a sort of hub or proxy that allows administration to interact easily or more easily between each other. And this platform comes together with a big data platform. Since the beginning of the foundation of our company, we established a big data platform. So we start working on the, start getting competence in the field of AI since the foundation of the company itself. I mentioned this just because artificial intelligence, which is now extremely popular because there is this new fashion, which is the generative artificial intelligence, is quite an old story. And for the one that we already follow the field since a few years, we know that artificial intelligence is possible just because there was all the study and all the background on the artificial intelligence, on the predictive model, on the natural language process model, and so forth, which we are using internally. And we are, for example, we already had just in the 3 or 4 years ago, a model to predict the payment for our, for prediction on the payment of our platform, analyzing some pattern inside the data. So the key value, the key point here is that we really need to, what we could benefit from this revolution, because it is a revolution, and we will see the impact in the following year more and more, is that finally it will become very mainstream, very popular, the idea that you can extract value from data. And extracting value from unstructured amount of data. So the main value to me is not that we will have a machine that can reason like a human, because that's not the case. I mean, it could be the case from a marketing perspective if you put a lot of money on it, as we say on the presentation from the colleague of Banca d'Italia. But in the end, we are talking about models that react upon rules, and the rules are the one that create the model itself. So it was a very interesting point from the colleague that because we're talking in the end about the deterministic machine, they can amplify the bias of the training model itself. They can, and I want just to point out 2 questions that are important for the progress of this artificial intelligence adoption and revolution. And the first is trust. We have to create model and framework that enable trust from the artificial intelligence. I'm not talking now because you're just the beginning, but in a few years, this can be more and more a question in the agenda. Because once we support the human being to take a decision, and the support is heavily based on the artificial intelligence model, we have to be sure that we can have trust and transparency of the model itself. And the other, which is interesting to us as actor, because we consider our mission to be an actor in terms of the digital transformation of the country itself. One of the things that really can benefit from the artificial intelligence is to lower the barrier between the users, so the citizen, and the public administration. So artificial intelligence can be, in this case, general artificial intelligence can be one of the tools that we can use to create simpler and more easy to access services to the public. Just a few words about our path toward the artificial intelligence. We established an internal committee, which is basically a group of people from this different department. The lead was on the technical department, so my department, but we have inside three major competencies. The first competence is legal competencies, because we want to assess the ethics and privacy consequences of our choice. The second, of course, the main group is technical department, because we are exploring already 4 or 5 on production use case, but we are creating a framework to foster and to accelerate more use case for the company. The third leg of this table is the business development. So we want to see the value in the medium and long term of the adoption of these terms, so of this technology. So in terms of strategy, we are doing the first stage was an exploration of the possibility and a selection, cherry-picking selection of the use case that can be useful for us. Now we are creating a framework in which we have some technological framework that can enable very quick adoption of specific use case. And we select, and let's say, a privacy and ethic framework inside the company that guide in terms of selecting one use case or the other. We try that this is in our strategy, that's the way to speed up the adoption in artificial intelligence. What we are observing from the moment that there are a lot of expectation, extremely high expectation from the organization, expectation driven by the mainstream, not by the real knowledge of the limits of this technology. And when you have an expectation so big, it can be that there can be a delusional moment just after, because we know that this technology has the limits. So there is also, and that's the last bit that I want to give to you, a cultural aspect. We have to, let's say, embrace our organization to follow this revolution in terms of artificial intelligence, showing the possibility, but also showing the potential risk and the limits. Hallucination is part of the model, it's not an exception. So you have to understand that if you rely heavily on this method, you cannot have the total control of the output of what you have. So it's really the case that you use this system or another to face or to tackle a specific problem. So that's it from my side. Just want to give you an idea.
Talking about payments, we have Victoria Merkulova with us. She's director of Group IT Strategy and Transformation. So over to you.
Okay. I have to defend my title, so I know how to use the microphones. Well, I was reflecting on what everybody was sharing before, just making sure that I don't repeat my respected colleagues and I don't get bored younger part of our today's discussion. Maybe if you allow me to share the use case of what we've done as Nexi. So I think my older colleagues know what Nexi is. For younger ones, that's what you see on the receipt when you pay with a card. That's us. Nexi is not Italian anymore. Nexi is actually a European company. So also connecting the dots of what my colleagues were saying before, I would perhaps like you to bring home just a few concepts. Courage, risk, play safe. Let's talk about Gen AI. So let me just go into that direction because that's what I do in my latest role. So our journey was very classic. We started by saying, let's democratize generative AI. It seemed like a sexy thing to propose to people, to put everybody in the playground and play with generative AI. 1 month after we started, we realized it was a risky business. So there was a huge risk of creating shadow generative AI, meaning everybody plays in their own room and there are no rules, okay? So the second stage, let's say, was let's put the rules. Let's create a safe environment where still people don't feel like they're castrated and they cannot play. And let's put the common denominator of why we're doing it, okay? So last year, we started the program of generative AI where we started it for IT. We are Fintech. We don't want to forget that we are tech. And we are very expensive tech. Why? Because today Nexi is 3 companies put together. So we have Nets, we have Nexi, we have SIA. So all our IT systems is at least multiplied by 3. So you can imagine the redundancy level, right? So we had to make sure that there is a business case behind the game. Otherwise, it's not a worthy game. So we started translating into use cases and started mapping the world of IT, of Nexi, of what can be potential use cases for the usage of generative AI. Okay, something you guys read on your school book. So we started with the coding, GitHub Copilot. We moved to customer agents. We are developing ourselves. We are very much mainframe COBOL company. That's for those younger ones, that's a programming language that was born before you. And we, as many other financial companies, are still using it. We stick to it, and most likely we're not going to give it up for next decades. And it seems also the trend all over the world. So it also occurred to us that generative AI does not exist for mainframe, so we have to build it. So let's say that the few first learnings in terms of generative AI were build or buy, and how do we make it safe? So I am lucky or not lucky to belong to a generation that has seen invention of internet. That's when I moved to the States. When I moved to Italy, I came to Italy together with Java. Our first daughter was born between LinkedIn and iPads, I would say. So I've seen something in terms of the world of technology. Generative AI is an animal of its own. And let's say that experimentation of Nexi confirms it. Whichever strategy, and we try to be very solid. I'm a math major. And I try to be very diligent and precise in modeling what would be the value of generative AI for Nexi. It doesn't hold water anymore after 3 months. It's a creature of its own, and it shouldn't be compared to what we've done with internet, Java, cloud. It's not a static way to automate things. It's a living creature, it's dynamic. There is a dialogue between a human and another creature, and they both develop, evolve, and learn together. So that's what we learned very fast. And in order to properly grow this creature, we decided to create a dedicated department. So we have a Gen AI lab, and I'm very much honored to lead it. And what we do is, first of all, we created a safe environment to play with. So the first topic was, let's have a design authority where every 2 weeks I go with all the demand that I get from on group level for Gen AI, and we run it by them, and we make sure that it's okay in terms of regulatory, legal, compliance, even unions, you name it, okay? Everybody has something to say, and that's how it should be, and it's something new, and everybody fears it. And we do want to make sure that the space where we play in is very safe, because we are dealing with our data, with our intellectual property, and also the one of our banks. Second dimension we've learned is do not reinvent the wheel, right? So I had a chance to go and talk to people from Banca Intesa, BPER, our colleagues, and the national character made a difference. We are lucky to have Poland as part of our ecosystem. We are lucky to have people in Denmark and Sweden. They have much higher propensity to innovation, to risk, to go beyond. And thank God we could put their enthusiasm and hunger for experimentation to a common denominator. Currently, we have around 30 pilots running. So we are trying it all. Again, coming back to me being geeky person, we very fast learned that we need to understand why we are doing it. And I think it was a very healthy exercise for Nexi in general, because we tried to look through the lens on all our processes in order to understand where generative AI can be useful. What it allows us to do is to discover that there are instruments other than generative AI, very old ones, and we are not using them to optimize ourselves. So it was a kind of a Easter cleaning for the company processes, where we went back also to our old-fashioned IT instruments under the umbrella of generative AI. We have started scaling up our first use case, which is coding. So to all our modern languages programmers, we are giving GitHub Copilot. It was the easiest, yes. It was the cheapest, yes. And in the meantime, we are cultivating the culture, and we're getting the excitement going, and people just getting used to the fact that in their room, there is another colleague, which is called generative AI. There's no need to be fearful. It's actually your peer. That's the culture of not fearing that we are very much focusing nowadays. Very easily, we realize we're going to go nowhere unless we're not going to have people with us on board. I will also bring an interesting information I read at Gartner the other day. So they were saying that in 2016, the core skills required in industries was STEM and creativity, and then came prioritization and planning and team collaboration. That's 2016. In 2024, STEM and creativity, we don't care about. We became so complex that number one skill we look for is capacity to plan and prioritize. So basically we are saying we're so complicated, behind the tree, we lose the forest, okay? And second is team, okay? So thinking that generative AI is nothing else but your peer, is nothing else but your colleague, that's what we should be teaching generative AI to do. So GitHub Copilot, lovely. Good to think that instead of your traditional programmer, you will have a machine, but that's probably not the mission of generative AI. Because if we trust Gartner, and we do, most likely we should be teaching generative AI to unknot the complexity that we humans have created, so we can allow ourselves humans to go back to what we have, which is intuition, sixth sense, sentiments. So
That's my pitch for generative AI.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And so let's talk about banks with Andrea Cosentini. He's head of data and AI at Intesa Sanpaolo. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the organizers for the invitation and for this very interesting roundtable. Well, let me start with big picture in our point of view. The big picture also in order to explain how and where we are using AI in our business. The big picture is that there is an evolving landscape for the financial services due to the technology. I've noted here 4 main pillars with trends and market evidence. We are noticed a new way of providing services to customers from fintech and not only, also from the big players. New trends are digital and attractive user experience, simple and focused offering and the process, and a scalable multi-country operating model with new technology, very strong technology. The market evidence is for this pillar that we need for a scalable customer experience, and we are looking for low cost to serve. This is very important for every business plan for corporates, banking, insurance, and so on. Customer behavior. Services with increased self-service operation are from the COVID time to now are increased a lot. So we are looking for easy and rewarding access to services in itself. Some numbers. Digital sales at the moment are more or less 30%. Branch visits. More than 75% of clients at European level visit the branch less than 4 times a year. 50% of the customers visit the branch 1 or less time per year. The research and buy of products on the same channel is 70%. Big numbers. And these numbers are helped by artificial intelligence solutions that we are adopting. There is a cost revenue model that is evolving, focus on optimizing the cost to serve and the total cost of ownership. The average operating cost per customer at the moment at the European level is between 25 euros and 55 euros. And the percentage of this cost due to the advertising is more or less 30%, 25-30%. So it's not a small number. We are living continuous increase in regulatory pressure. Cinzia mentioned before pricing in insurance for health and life and so on. Okay, this is in this perimeter we are subject to Artificial Intelligence Act high risk use case, and not only, also we are subject to fundamental rights impact assessment for these 2 kind of use cases. So we have a lot of new effort and cost in order to give this service to our customers. And the economic sanctions from the both national and European regulators are very high. How we are moving? We are moving from a branch-centered service model to digital customer service, self-centralized 24/7, scalable with technology and non-dependent from geography. We are moving from a territorial rootedness to customer knowledge, including through data. We know a lot from for our clients from the data. We are moving from a rich and very sophisticated product range, due also the result of multiple M&A, to simple and immediate products. And for all of these things, we are helped by artificial intelligence. 2 years ago, we started with a very ambitious program, and our goal is to put in production more than 190 solutions before the end of 2025. We created a center of excellence with more than 150 data scientists, but not only, also philosophers, also legal, in order to approach in a safe way the risk of AI. But where we are doing that in every business unit of the bank, from commercial bank to insurance to risk management, compliance, audit, and so on. We started publishing internally guidelines for the safe use of AI that is coherent with Artificial Intelligence Act. And we are implementing a program for the diffusion of the culture of AI for every employee in the bank. We have 2 teams dedicated to responsible AI. And okay, I'm proud to say that in 2020, we received an award from ABI for a tool called Be Fair, that assess data in input and mitigate the output of AI solutions. That is already in production, obviously, and enlarged. So great attention to the guardrails for AI. I can say now a lot about our use cases and our pillars for responsible AI, but maybe we can leave these points for the discussion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry. Let's discuss AI integration strategies in fintech with Jarosław Sokolnicki. Fine. He's an AI expert and lecturer, so please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. Thanks, Polish Embassy, for invitations. It's a great honor to, to speak and talk a little bit about the artificial intelligence. Actually, it's nothing new. Artificial intelligence has about more than 50 years. The first, the huge touch when the humanity, touched the artificial intelligence was the social media. It's not anymore, content editor in the social media. It's just the algorithm, artificial algorithm that decide what it's, appearing on your wall. So it's nothing new again, but let's start with how we can use the artificial intelligence to make some, benefit to our society, to our, human and business actually. So it's called business alignment. So it means how we can use this fantastic technology 2 years ago, the consumer get access. It's absolutely important. It's the same like in internet or mobility. The consumer was the first who get access to this, not the huge, I know, company or something like this. Just the consumer, the consumerization, the first time. And it's actually what's happening now is that the consumer has access to this, and even if your company's it's blocked or something like this, probably at home the consumer using it. But I want to start with some business model archetype, because in my personal opinion, the adoption is everything. So we can see the wheel, as you mentioned, and the Giro Italia, how many years took to invent the bicycle and organize Giro Italia. It's what we mean adoptions. Adoption means that we have to know how to implement. We have some ideas what we can do. Leonardo da Vinci, the very famous Italian guy. You can agree probably that it's quite, well recognized. Leonardo da Vinci teach us how to, be. What does mean the curiosity? That we should experiment, maybe not implement because we don't know how, we don't know why, but the experiment, leading us to some new inventions, especially in the business, in the humanity, in other part. So let me try. It's the combination of Stanford University and in my, personal research. The 3 types of business model archetypes, how we can implement and use, or maybe adopt, assimilate, whatever. So the first is the takers. The takers, it means that you off the shelf taking some product. It can be ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic, whatever. And you need the takers to build something, to make it some task in different way. So the first. The second one is the shapers. The shapers is a little different because they're making something more. It's like something different way. And the shapers taking the customer data, business data, to making, the artificial intelligence smarter and maybe, able to do something more. So again, the shapers is the second one. And the last but not least is the makers. The makers, it means that we can make artificial intelligence, new frontier model, foundation model. We can see Mistral. Even in Poland, we have, maybe you have heard that Wojtek Zaremba, Polish citizen, Polish guy, is the co-founder of OpenAI. It means that the Europe has, the best in the world Polish language model. It is? Unfortunately, no. But we have some like Mistral. We have something like Bielik, is the sort of eagle called. So it means that we have some ambitions that we can implement. We can fine-tune existing one because we can take the existing model and put some attention on the Polish language, Italian language. According to European Global Innovate Index 2024, quite new, the Italy has placed 12 positions, Poland 4th, and 4-0. So I think that it's quite important that the makers is the way how we can build some new value, how we transform the market, how we deliver completely new product, research and development. I spent last 2 years in big tech, working with the biggest companies for experiments, not implements, experiments. The way how we can use every day we discover 10, 15 ideas how we can use the artificial intelligence. Not only, ChatGPT, because we have diffusion model, we have large language model, we have attention all you need, transformer. So it means that it's a lot of, sections. We have agentic models, So, the crew, when the agent talking each other and decide instead of some human. But it sounds crazy, but in some way it's absolutely reasonable, and we can see some idea how to use it. Maybe you can familiar, I'll try to show you, is the smile curve. The smile curve is how the company, organizations produce value. The biggest value you have on the upper, on the bottom, you have the lower. The biggest value is the research and development. The biggest value is the customer engagement, customer service. But the productions on the line when we deliver some, financial services as well, it's smaller. So the question is where we should put some attentions using experiments with artificial intelligence in our company, on bottom line or upper services, when we can get immediately big value. Again, research and development, new product, customer services. By the way, it's the same what McKinsey trying to say, that, okay, let's start with the customer services because probably we can spend, a lot, AI ideas, and you can be extremely beneficial from that way. So competitive edge for European fintech. It's many points. I don't want to, make the same statement which we have heard before. But again, I think that it's the regulatory, the AI Act, which enforced in April or sorry for that, July. In my personal opinion, it's absolutely, the great balance between the human rights and the speed of innovation and the way how we implement something, assimilate something, etc. Of course, we have some traps, as always, but I'm proud that we have some, regulations, and sometimes trying for us, like United States, with, protect our people, protect our countries, etc. But again, it doesn't mean that we should stop. We should, accelerate with the speed of innovation through the adoptions, through the implementation, through the way how we can adopt. The question is, we want to be takers, makers, or shapers? Okay, again, takers, shapers, or makers. Who we want to be? The answer is both. We need takers to, to implement the solution we invent. We need shapers like engineers who help us to build new application, maybe new models. And we should be, with some makers as well, because our ambition is bold ambitions to make something as well. So I want to stay with maybe 1 or 2 points. The first is the international collaborations. It's a great example of how we can, meet and change some ideas. But also between the startups. I'm a huge fan of the startups because it's the way how, without any boundaries, they taking something and go. Invent something absolutely crazy ideas, but maybe in 2 or 3 years, it can be absolutely beneficial for the humanity, for planet, and for the industry. So the first, the international collaborations, but the last point, my last point, is the education. Education means that we need the specialized, new one, completely new one, which help us build the new foundation model, which help us, with prompt, even with the prompt skills. We have to understand how each model has some totally different patterns. Even if you use, GPT, Anthropic, Gemini, it's for different, different type of task. So the education with the engineering part, with the social part, as the Peter Drucker said, that the culture, organization culture, eating strategy on the breakfast, I want to say that definitely we should build the culture of innovation, culture of AI, through the experiment in each industries, in each companies. But also we should remember that we need deliver some framework how to, skill up some organization people and I don't know that normal human with the new world because something is absolutely new. It's similar like the internet era. If we back into 2000, like Steve Jobs said that it's very easy, to connect the dots in the past, but in the future it's crazy. It's just the vision. But I want to say that the artificial intelligence is not only LLM, it's the twin simulations in synthetic data. It means that again we should, we should take a look very, very broadly how we can use it, how we can be on top of this, the wave on innovations with our brilliant people, brilliant minds, infrastructure, and everything. Thanks a lot.
Look at the title of the entire festival is looking for Kratos. So we are thinking about power and its different phases. And I think that's the best way to ask Mr. Boccardo, CEO and president at Bivitech, to join this table with his remarks, please.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I will share our vision on what's happening in the international scenario, and I've enjoyed so much to see and to know what is happening in our corporates and our institutions in the nation. We are a 1,300 technical engineers company. We design, implement, and maintain critical ICT infrastructures, and we are just in the middle of the game. So what we are trying to discuss is with respect to what generative AI is bringing to the table, what is it that we have to do on our opinion on the cybersecurity defense side. We have all talked about the AI dramatic adoption speed of the last 2 years. It's been the result of extraordinary investments in the last 7 years. And now also generative AI is bringing to the table benefits that you can count all on the reduction of cost and quality of services, then facilitating revenue boosts. It is expected by Stanford University AI Index Report 2024 that only generative AI technology has the potential to build a global $4.4 trillion yearly. So it's like we are saying, it's a real battle. And talking of investments, we have been seeing investments around the hundreds of millions, right? That we were presenting at the beginning of the conference. We all know that Sam Altman, speaking of the necessary AI computing platforms needed for the future, is asking for 7 trillion of investments from United States. And this says to secure our collective future. All right, so on one side, there is a big opportunity that is coming out, and on the other side, there is big risk. Besides inaccuracy that we were talking about. There is for sure a risk of having the right results from generative AI. There is a huge risk upon deep fake videos, manipulations, or synthetic images, or documents, text, and so on, that we can plan to face in the proper way, both at national level and at European level. So from one side, what I have heard, and it seems fairly reasonable for the state of Europe like we are now, we are bound to use some of the investments that, for example, United States has been bringing on in the last years. But if we just count on using their platform solutions and competencies, the risk is that both from a, say, economical side and also from a geopolitical side, we risk losing something, because we have seen that when something bad can be delivered through the electronic world, it is gonna be delivered. So we don't, again, we don't know where, when, but it's not a matter if it happens, all right? So I would say 2023 was the year of the discovery of AI, generative AI. 2024, I am happy to hear that we are using it here, has been the year in which they really began to use it globally. And a McKinsey global survey report on the big corporation worldwide, so including Asia and India and everybody, they have said that in the last 7 years, the use of what we call AI, let's remember, AI is not new, right? In 1965, Minsky, Professor Minsky, Marvin Minsky, founded the AI project at MIT, which became then the MIT lab. So it's not a new thing. It's something that we have been living for years. But the impact and the increase of impact was low with respect to what is happening now. And McKinsey says in the last 7 years, all right, the adoption in at least one function of AI applications has been growing to 70% of the sample. So 70% of the sample of the sample McKinsey is considering are using AI in at least one function. And what is interesting is that generative AI utilization, both experiment and adoption, has gone in 1 year to 65% of those samples. That means that whoever, and it is almost all of them, is using AI, they are already using generative AI. Because the exploitment of it, we have seen before, it is 0.4 trillion per year. So there is a lot to be seen. Now, on one side, we have these great opportunities, and for both our economies and our democracies, right? We will see that when you have these powerful tools and you are able also to defend them, we have to defend in the end our digital reality. We cannot go with digital reality that can be fake, right? So, but when you defend it, you will see that which we are 7 billion digital citizens will be safe and will enjoy a great story. So there is no way that we can bring this 7 billion digital citizens something that is not trustable. So, of course, we have to be humble enough. We have to try technology. We have to be careful so that the perception of our customers are in line with what it should be, but we have to do it. On the other side, vulnerabilities, right? I'm I'll be on the 5 minutes. I see him worried. No, I want just to say why we have all this issue of cybersecurity that has to do with vulnerabilities, right? Of whatever it is electronic. All the computers have been thought since the very beginning to be faster and faster, and size-wise smaller and smaller. And it is happening from 1965, every 18 years, it doubles power, and it goes half dimension, all right? And it is still going on. So this was it. It wasn't built, this electronic world now that pervades us, to be intrinsically secure. It is not. And there is a famous thing, I like to say it because it gives us the urgency of treating with the cyber security things, also coming with the generative AI on stage. A founder of IEEE Engineering Transactions said that if builders build buildings like programmers write programs, the first woodpecker coming along would destroy civilization. All right? All right? So we're not, because we taught them in that way, we're not moving intrinsically secure when doing our systems, our infrastructures, our PCs, our application. Now, it's going to take another 23 or 30 years. This is what MIT says, not myself, of course, to come up with an intrinsic, hopefully, secure computing power. And then we will have to have all the porting of what we have in this nowadays computing power to the new power. It's going to take 50 to 60 years that we are still here with a patch and pray attitude, okay? We see the vulnerability and we have to patch it. And it's going to be going on for 50 years. So we have to be, at the same time that we are experimenting generative artificial intelligence, we have to have an eye ever since the beginning on what generative AI brings to the table with respect to cyber attacks. All right? So I want to read the impact of global cost of deepfake fraud coming from deepfake content by generative AI is in the 2024 estimated 1 trillion already, right? And it is 86,000 deepfake events by $10,000 per event. But this is, I mean, it is enormously high. Now, what is it that we have to face? Voice cloning, face swapping AI, fraudulent document generations, any kind of, they are more and more often used against, in the fintech sector, the authentication, re-authentication, or know your customers' procedures and systems. So they're just attacking where either you have to recognize somebody or you don't. And if you don't, you have a problem. All right? So these synthetic images, voice clones, video manipulation, AI-generated text is the issue on the table. Now, there are already, as we can imagine, experiments of platforms and solutions and services with specific eye onto AI-generated fraud tools, things. And this is what we have to do. While we cannot compete with the 7 trillion investment with Altman, we should try to be prepared on the defense sector when this AI-generated fraud tentatives are there. And this we are on time. I mean, we just need to work together. Corporations, institutions, and enterprises, together with the academic world, can do a difference. So I end saying this is not only an argument, an issue of minimizing fraud. It is a matter of resilience of our nations. It is a matter of security of states. So as it is the case in the fintech sector, it is the case in the public administration. We do work with the defense and space sector. That is terrible. So we cannot rely only using the platforms that are coming in. We should get into the theater and try to see if we can do something. In a way, these platforms that have been coming up with so many millions of dollars are generating digital bachelors in history, philosophy, engineering. These digital bachelors, we can train them on our data with our experts and then get the differentiation that we all are looking for. So thank you very much. I hope it was useful.
While you were speaking, it came to my mind my first time in Israel covering cybersecurity issues. And I spent that time, it was something like 5 or 6 years. And I think the word ecosystem was repeated to me something like 10 times a minute, very crazy. So I think that's an ecosystem we need always, also when we think about and we discuss fintech, so involving the private sector, the public sector, and academia. And it's something like the Americans, they call it a whole of society approach, something like that. And let's think this discussion like a kickoff for continuing our conversation on the other room for a light lunch buffet. But before we wrap up, I would like to thank you all to join this conversation. I would like to thank the Festival della Democrazia for having me, for asking me to moderate this very thought-provoking discussion. Always thank you to Centro Studi Americani for this fantastic over room, and thank you all for this discussion.